Hello, everybody, and welcome to the second episode of the Red Devil's Den podcast reboot. I'm joined today by at InItToVinit05 and at DanWinkle95 on Twitter. You've heard from them before on the podcast, we're going to be going over multiple topics today. Frenkie de Jong developments, Darwin Nunez going to Liverpool, how that affects our plans, what defenders United should be targeting this summer. But before we get to that, we're going to start out with the same game we did last week. Who are you? And as a reminder for those who maybe didn't listen the previous week, first of all, go listen to the previous podcast. But I've got a list of 10 clues, and I'm going to basically give the first three to these guys, and they'll be able to start guessing. And if they don't have an idea of what it is, I'll keep adding clues until someone either gets it or I run out of clues. So just to get started, your first three clues are: I am currently the assistant manager of Adana Demirspor in Turkey. I played for 7 clubs across 5 countries. I played 181 games for United, scoring 9 goals. Dan, stop Googling things. Scoring 9 goals and notching 21 assists. The idea is to rely on your head. I'll give you more clues. They get easier. It'll be easier to tell what it is as we keep going. Anyone have any idea based on those three?
Wait, which club is this? Is this like Great Division A Turkish League?
He is currently an assistant manager in the first division in Turkey, in the Super League, at Adana Demirspor.
And he's played 180 appearances for us.
181 for United, scoring 9 goals and notching 21 assists.
Interesting. And what was the third clue was
7 clubs across 5 countries. And later on, I'll give you the clubs, but it's a little bit of a giveaway, so I'm saving it for later. I scored my first United goal in an Audi Cup friendly against Boca Juniors with a free kick.
What?
A free kick?
Yeah. Okay, these have been a little vague and harder to go with, so the next one is: I stuck my hand up to take the first penalty in the 2008 Champions League final. But, sorry, let me rephrase that. I stuck my hand up to take the first penalty of sudden death in the 2008 Champions League final. So the 6th penalty.
Anderson was in the 5, wasn't he?
No, I don't want to say. Anderson?
Then you've got it again.
Bro, I just said that.
No, you said that. You said he was in the first 5. That's actually wrong. I said it was the first penalty of the shootout, or of the sudden death. You didn't actually guess Anderson. You just said he was in the first 5. So that would have meant he wouldn't have counted.
Justice for Dan Winkle.
No, I'm sorry, Dan.
Next episode, if you show up.
Again, Dan wins on a 2-week winning streak there. Wow. I'm sorry, you kind of laid it up for him, but you didn't actually.
I've given him that.
Exactly. You sort of gave it to me. I heard him say something about and then I was like, oh wait, like Anderson, and then 2008 I was like, then I remember Daniel saying the last episode he said Anderson.
That's what inspired me to pick him this time. Yeah.
Nice.
Anyways,
I'm so annoyed.
Just to give you what the rest of the clues would have been, he became the second Brazilian to play for United after Kleberson. Sir Alex wrote in his autobiography that his brother had said, "Alex, he's better than Wayne Rooney." His 7 clubs were Grêmio, Porto, Man United, Fiorentina, Internacional in Brazil, Coritiba, and Adana Demirspor, where he's now the assistant manager, which I didn't know until I started doing research.
I didn't know that either. Yeah.
I wonder if he's still eating McDonald's every day.
Yeah, he looks a little bit like Fat Ronaldo still. I saw a picture. He won the Golden Boy Award in 2008, and the last one, which I would have probably smacked you through the camera if you hadn't gotten it after this, I was once touted as the next Ronaldinho. That would have been enough, I think, to get it if we hadn't gotten there earlier.
I heard that too.
But anyways, another week, another win. Looks like we're gonna have someone else develop this quiz next week so I can take him on.
You're the only one that's remaining.
Well, I'm the only one who hasn't played yet, so but anyways, that gets us to the first topic, which is Frenkie de Jong. The developments around him are, a lot of the English press is saying that basically he's open to a move now and personal terms are no longer an issue. There has been a report by Fabrizio Romano that United made an offer of 60 million euros with 10 million euros as an incentive that was rejected by Barcelona. Simon Stone came out with his usual negative brief. How do we feel about where the Frenkie de Jong transfer is? Do we think this is going to end up happening? Because last week, nobody believed we were actually going to sign him. We'll start with Winkle.
I think it happens. I do. I think given the reports, especially how quick, within the last few days, how quickly things have accelerated. You look at United and think, yeah, they're really, really determined to make this happen. I think obviously Erik ten Hag's been doing his work, convincing him, and then it seems to have worked. That seems to have been the biggest hurdle, which is now gone, because as you said last week, no one thought this was going to happen. I was completely trivializing the whole thing. You could probably go look at my tweets, and I'm probably saying, yeah, this is not happening, but now I'm sitting there thinking, I think this definitely happens now. I think it's a matter of time. Barcelona are in financial trouble. Frenkie de Jong wants to come, which is probably the most exciting thing personally for me, because we know that Barcelona was his dream move, and he obviously, of course, he's not completely happy about leaving, but to know that he is happy to join and he's not being forced out the door, that's brilliant for me. I think it does happen. It's a matter of time before this fee is agreed.
Vin, what do you think? And Dan, you have somebody behind you, may need your help.
Yeah, I think the stars are aligning. I would be absolutely surprised if it doesn't happen from here onwards, purely because if you look at the narrative of the story and the way it's been developed over the past couple of weeks, right? At first, it was Barcelona are in financial trouble and they need to start selling players. We are looking for a midfielder as a top priority signing this summer, and Frenkie de Jong happens to be just one of the names that Barca wants to sell, and we want to have him purely not just because a midfielder is our target, but also Erik ten Hag wants him based on his relationship with Frenkie in Ajax. And then you just see how the story goes with Frenkie saying no, then Barca are hesitant, and then all of a sudden the economic disagreements sort of come into play, and then all of a sudden Frenkie realizes, you know what, if they want me kicked out, then I don't mind leaving. And that's exactly what's happening. 60 million euros plus 10 million euros add-ons. Is that
That was the offer that United had made. Fabrizio says that Barcelona want closer to 85 million euros.
But Barcelona don't have much leverage here. We have all the leverage the way I see things, because Barcelona want the money. They want to sign new players. They want to push out, reduce their wage bill, and they can't just sit on the fee that they want, so they have to budge, and I guess we would have to sort of compromise a bit as well, meet halfway. I would say 65 plus 10 would be the likeliest figure for that sale to get sanctioned. And the good thing is Frenkie was hesitant before, but now, because of Barcelona pushing so hard to sell him, he's like, you know what, fine, I'm happy to join United. The manager over there wants me, so makes sense for me to move. Even though it's not Champions League, it's not Barcelona, it's not Camp Nou, but it's still Old Trafford, so it's not a bad swap the way I see it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I agree with both of you. The transfer looks like it's going to happen now. With United, when the deal gets to the stage that United have made a verbal offer, and there's some difference of the fee, then usually the deal ends up getting done. The only time I can think of, honestly, in the last 10 years or so that the deal hasn't gotten done has been with Jadon Sancho that first summer. And that was purely because it was Borussia Dortmund were very clear, 120 million euros or nothing. And
please never say that again, please.
So unless Barcelona stick to so Fabrizio was saying 85 million euros. There's a report in ESPN with some reliable journalists for Barcelona there that they may want as much as 100 million euros. If they want
Rob Dawson.
No, it wasn't Dawson. It was one of the Barcelona journalists. It was like Moy Lorenz or something on Twitter. Nonetheless, it seems to me like unless they decide all of a sudden 100 million euros up front or nothing, this deal's getting done. I think it will get done for 80-ish million euros probably. Barcelona will say we want 85. United will say we'll pay 70. They'll meet at 75 or 80 and get it done.
And you'd imagine this is a sort of stage of the deal where it very, very rarely falls through.
And I think
You know,
by
it's
the end of
almost,
the month we'll
you
have the
know,
preseason.
yeah, you know, it's almost about to happen when Simon Stone starts tweeting negative stuff about the team.
Exactly.
It's
It's good
only a
though
matter of
because I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be a massive saga. I thought this was going to run into July, but the rate of things have accelerated recently. So really, really positive, and it makes me feel good about the summer because this was clearly the statement signing that they wanted.
Yeah.
We've seen things. And Eric Ten Hag wants him to be the statement signing of the summer, and of course there's been some frustration from myself personally because this is such an important summer. We've got a brand new manager in. We're going to adopt a completely new style of play, and we need new players for that, as well as replacing the 10 or so players that are likely to go. So to get a Frenkie de Jong, a Rolls Royce midfielder, as people have been saying, it's a real statement. And to get this one over the line first, as early, well, hopefully, we hope as early as it looks like it's going to be done. That's only going to help to entice more players to perhaps take a step down from the Champions League and say, look, believe in what we're doing because we're going somewhere good.
Either that or we're going to end up signing every player Eric Ten Hag has ever previously had. Putting in for all these guys. But unless
yeah,
we'll
but I mean,
sorry, go
yeah,
ahead.
but sorry for cutting out. But one thing that I want to say was that signing Frankie de Jong is not where it ends. I just
No,
hope.
absolutely not.
Oh yeah.
I just hope United realize that because it doesn't matter if we go ahead and sign a striker, two center backs, two full backs, two strikers. Unless we don't sign a defensive midfielder, we're not going to move anywhere. And that is, I hope, our focus next after Frankie de Jong is going to be signing another midfielder, more defensive minded. Because I don't see Frankie de Jong playing as a number 6 or as a defensive minded midfielder. He is more of a like a Van de Beek, like a Bruno, sort of who likes to be
Wouldn't go maybe
not
that
exactly
far
Cam,
forward, but I do think he's more of an 8.
Yeah, he's more of an 8. No, I'm not saying he's not a Cam, but he's like more of a progressive midfielder who likes to be on the
Absolutely.
ball and stuff like that, right? But in terms of defensive duties, we still don't have anyone, especially even now that Mattis is left. So I hope that is our next target, and I do have like a name in mind which I have been manifesting for a while. I don't know if that's gonna happen,
I'm
but
sympathetic to the idea of calling Frankie a defensive midfielder, but only if you call him a defensive midfielder the same way Jorginho is a defensive midfielder. He sets the pace of the game. He does
He's a
that.
metronome.
Or
Yeah.
like Michael Carrick even. But
Exactly.
he's not a Darren Fletcher. He's not Noah Hargreaves. He's not
exactly.
a N'Golo Kante.
He's not a Michael Carrick, which is exactly what we need right now.
We need next to him, like you guys were saying, somebody who can break up play, move side to side, and kind of cover on the counterattack. Somebody in that Fabinho, Rodri, Casemiro mold.
A destroyer.
Yeah, exactly.
He needs someone to do his dirty work because he's he's a beautiful footballer, and oh my word, like the passes that he can pick out are going to be fantastic. And I did think it was a bit odd, like that Eric Ten Hag wants to go for this position first for sort of a creative midfielder, as such. But because I really didn't.
The way I see it, the reason why De Jong is probably the first name that's come to his mind is because of the departures of Pogba and Lingard. The way I see
Absolutely, yeah, no, I understand that he's sort of a Pogba replacement.
You guys are forgetting we still have the preseason Pirlo. He's back from loan in Brazil.
That's where he's gonna be. That's it. Like I don't want him to be in August. I don't want him to be like in the dressing room.
Well, he's been linked to Fenerbahce, so let's hope that deal ends up going through.
Fucking Andy Perry.
But in terms of like partnerships, we've been talking about like one person deciding the pace of the game when we have the ball and one person breaking up the opposition's. If we don't end up signing a defensive midfielder, and this is a question that I'm floating in terms of a combination as a partnership, how does Fred and De Jong work? Like Fred as the breaker, as the destroyer, and De Jong as like the progressor.
Well, when you consider the fact that Fred was like one of the most dribble pass mid players in the Premier League last season, it doesn't look very good. I think that
he started under Ragnick. Like he was, if you look at under Ragnick, he was one of the only players who like sort of flourished. You could say.
He did, but the problem.
I love Fred, but I love further forward Fred. Like he was under Ragnick.
He flourished when he had that free 8 role, essentially taking Pogba out of the team, and when it was Bruno and Fred on either side of Scott McTominay and Nemanja Matic. He didn't really flourish as a lone defensive midfielder. And, with Frenkie, he's more balanced than Paul Pogba was, so it won't be this bad. But to me, whenever I hear someone say that combination, I always think of Pogba and Fred playing together, and that just never worked. For me, Fred is very much an option in that 8 position, somebody who would rotate with Frenkie, probably in the Europa League games, in the FA Cup and the League Cup, but he's not somebody who I would pair with
Yeah.
Frenkie de Jong. I would probably prefer Jimmy Garner, honestly, out of the other midfielders we have for that role. If we had
Well, I mean, the only reason why I asked that is because in the event we don't sign someone and we sort of assume that Ten Hag and his coaching staff could improve some of the players in certain aspects. If he gets to improve Fred in the defensive aspects, then it's not a
so
bad thing.
here's my issue with that. You can improve Fred's positional discipline probably with coaching. You can improve Fred's erratic passing with coaching. You can't make Fred taller. And one of the issues is Bruno, Frenkie de Jong, and Fred is a really lightweight midfield for the Premier
Yeah,
League.
big
Who
time.
knows? There
Thomas
might be.
Souček is going to just bulldoze all 3 of them in one go.
Who knows? There might be a biological scientist in Ten Hag's coaching staff. We don't know about.
He
Stretch
might
it.
have access to Pep's doctor in Barcelona.
Who knows?
So there could be something there, but short of that, we're definitely going to need another midfielder. And I think we talked about midfield a lot last week. So the focus of today's podcast is more going to be the other positions, starting with actually up front. We had all heard the name Darwin Nunez being linked with United. He's a name that I had been pushing myself as well. And it looked like United were in for him. And now he's off to Liverpool for 80 million euros plus 20 million euros in add-ons. One way of looking at it is United have been rumored to have a budget in the low 100 million range for net spend this summer. And essentially Frenkie de Jong is going to end up eating up half that budget. If you had signed Darwin and Frenkie, you would basically have no money left. And United have way too many other holes to have done that. So it seems logical enough to pass on him. But with that now, what are the next options up front? Do you guys have someone in mind that you would like to see United move for, who's a little bit more budget friendly? And we'll start with Vin this time.
Yeah, I mean, before I move on to that, just one thing for everyone who's listening, watching this to know that when you read the words United have a transfer budget of 100 million, everyone starts to assume, we're going to pay 60 million up front for say Frenkie de Jong, which is what I've been reading. I'm like, that's not how transfers really work, because you have like an upfront fee and then you have the rest of it paid in installments. So when we say United have a transfer budget of say around 100 million, so you're really talking about say 20 million upfront goes to Frenkie de Jong, to Barcelona for Frenkie de Jong, and then you have 80 million, and all of them are done in installments. So it's not like we are putting 60 million off that 100 straight up to Barcelona and saying, here you go.
I'm just going to actually go ahead and straight up disagree with you there. Financially, you're right. That's how it works in the
That's
background.
what I'm saying financially.
But as far as the public version of this is United's budget, if you look at it historically for the last 5-10 years, when United leaked to the press, we have a budget of 130 million. That just means a budget of a total of 130 million in fees. It doesn't mean the specific installments that get paid in one summer. It just refers to the total number. So while you're right, technically, I don't think that actually really
translates to what it is. Right.
Okay. We could have signed 10 players with 10 million up front installments.
Exactly. That's not how it works.
That would be fun if that was true. I wish that was true though. Anyways, moving on to strikers. Yeah, so Darwin Nunez.
So one of the things, sorry, Vin, that'll make it interesting is United have never actually explicitly said we're in for a striker. The word that they keep using in their briefs is versatile forward.
Exactly.
And Darwin Nunez plays left and middle, right? So you could really pick anybody. We've been linked with Anthony. We've been linked with Nkunku, who plays across the front 3. We've been linked with Richarlison, who plays across the front 3. You could make an argument that, we could really be going for any forward position. So what would you be interested in us trying for?
Well, if I look at the current crop of options we have across the front 3, right, including the ones that aren't like really performing, the only place where I would see us focus if we have to, and I say if we have to because in my opinion, it is not that much of a priority. Like I would put midfield up first and then maybe reinforce defense and then go for the striker at the end if we have the time and the budget. But if we do, I would focus on a striker because if I look at a striker options up front, Cavani not there.
It's Ronaldo and then it's Martial, basically.
Ronaldo, Martial, he was in Valencia, didn't really impress anyone. He didn't really impress. Sorry, he was in Sevilla. My bad. He was in Sevilla. Didn't really impress anyone. I don't know if he's gonna even like get a chance under Ten Hag or if does Ten Hag really fancy him. So you could just consider him as good as not applicable, right? So the only one who's left is Ronaldo. Now Ronaldo.
You do have to remember though, Ten Hag's the guy who turned Sebastian Haller from West Ham flop into somebody now being targeted by Bayern Munich.
This is the thing that I was going to say. I mean, if we do end up being stuck with Martial, I think Ten Hag could work with him. That might be controversial, but I do think that he does. Purely because if you think back to the sort of football that Oli had United playing, I think maybe 1920, when you had the triangles, you had the combinations with Rashford and Martial. I used to think that did work really well, and maybe you could look at doing something like that. I mean, personally, I would sell Martial, but if we're stuck with him, maybe you can work with him.
I think everybody would love to sell Martial, but we're probably going to end up stuck with him. The good thing is the way it always works with Martial is the first season under a new manager, new system, he looks amazing. He's back to his best. And then he stops caring and it completely falls off a cliff again. So for 1 year, we could probably actually get by and then he'll get bored and we can sell him.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't want us to fall into that cycle again. We've seen that.
Oh, I don't either, but we're kind of stuck with him just because nobody wants to buy him.
I mean, if that's the case, then why not just loan him for the season somewhere?
Yeah, I mean, we could
give him to Barcelona as part of the Frenkie de Jong fee, man.
Can you? Well, they have Aubameyang, so I don't
revives his career.
Well, they already got one. They already got one washed-up striker from an English club in Aubameyang.
I mean, they also have Memphis Depay, right? So you could almost say they've got another piece of swap.
The best striker is Luke de Jong.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I would focus on like a proper younger number 9, someone like not Haaland.
Someone off the city.
Haaland's profile, but like not himself. Obviously. So someone like. Yes, Sebastian Haller, if he's up for grabs.
I mean, what else is out there? You have to look at these things. I mean, you don't know. You know, I was convinced that we were going for Darwin Nunez. I didn't really look at any of the European forwards, especially when the season finished. I was relieved when it was over, and I was like, right, okay, we're going to get Darwin Nunez. That's it. That's good. You know, that's it.
The thing with Darwin Nunez is, whilst he has been a prolific striker in the season before for Benfica, I wouldn't pay 100 million for it.
No,
this is the thing. Weren't Brighton bidding 25 for him just a season ago?
Yeah. Because I think before the season, his numbers weren't that great. Like he was scoring goals, but they were like decent, like not enough to like fetch 100 million. But it's just this season that he's scored. I don't know how many has he scored this season for Benfica. Like, do we have a number?
If I remember correctly, it was over 30, but let me check and I'll give you the exact one. 26 league goals.
That's good.
Matches.
Yeah, and the season 26 league goals, and overall, I bet he must have scored like 35 or ish. So yeah, so like
the goals in 41 appearances this past
season. There you go. And so the season before that, when Brighton like bid 25 million for him, I don't think he scored like more than 15 goals.
It was like 14 goals the season before.
Exactly, right? So again, you got to look at it's the price tag is commensurate to like his GNA stats, right? And so, and again, like this is absolute hypocrisy from Klopp, because he said that he would never bid any player 100 million. That would be the death of football, as he supposedly said, like in his exact words. And he's just doing that.
And then he bought Allison, and he bought who else did he buy for big money? Van Dijk, and now he's bought Darwin Nunez. The other thing to note with Nunez is that 26 league goals came off an XG of 15.73, and no one in football has been able to sustain that over a career. He's going to regress somewhat. Even when he was being linked with United, I was saying for me, he strikes me as like a 15 goal a season striker in the Premier League, not really a 20 plus one. And so I still think that's true. I said it when he was linked with us. I'll say it when he's signing for them. I don't think he scores as many goals as Mane does. He's not going to be able to replace that output directly.
For sure.
We
And
say
they got
the-
Luis Diaz, though, so they'll be okay.
I suppose like the art of the true nine is in the trend in modern football seems to be dying a little bit. We're seeing a lot more false nines, deeper lying forwards. So you get these young players at European clubs, even in their breakout season. Like you could argue that this really was Darwin Nunez's breakout season, and his transfer fees gained an extra 75 million on top because these young forwards are just at such a premium, and all the top clubs in the world they would just fight to the death to get them in. Because it is dying out. There's so few of them. Now that Darwin Nunez is going to Liverpool, we're sitting here scratching our heads because there is really so few options in the striker market now.
If you guys want to feel that, I can give you a stat.
Go on.
This is from The Analyst. They had an article a few days ago. Among forwards with 1,000+ minutes in what they call the top 6 European leagues last season, Darwin Nunez had the best minutes to goal ratio of any forward. 76 minutes.
Was it better than Aguero's at City this season?
I'm not sure.
I think I saw something like that. I can't remember where I saw it though.
I know he had 76 minutes a goal for Darwin Nunez. Lewandowski 84, Erling Haaland 87, Benzema 96. So better goals minutes to goals ratio. But like I was saying, the finishing that he's been doing is not sustainable long term. We'll see what comes with them. Everyone seems to do very, very well. Anyways, Vin was saying a younger striker. Who did you have in mind? We need a name.
Well, we've been linked with Anthony from Ajax.
That's a win.
Yeah, that's one. But I was thinking of a proper number 9 and someone.
Scamacca's available.
Who?
Gianluca Scamacca, the Italy striker for.
Yeah.
Playing as we speak.
Mm-hmm.
But the name that I have in mind is someone whom Resurgent also likes, and it's not Richarlison.
Okay.
It's his striker partner from Everton, Dominic Calvert-Lewin.
Mm-hmm.
He is, honestly, it's been 2 years since I've been sort of thinking about Calvert-Lewin at United as a number 9.
Yeah.
He just fits the profile. He's like a younger sort of version of Ronaldo, essentially. I would say he's got the physicality.
A bold statement. I get what you're trying to say.
You're gonna get killed. You're gonna get killed for that.
I was. That's why I had pauses when I was saying those words. I was like, okay, but you know what I mean. Like in some respects,
far worse but similar type as a forward.
Exactly. And he's like 24, 25. Like, so why not get 4 or 5 years out of him? His injury record is a bit of an issue, but I'm sure that can be treated with proper
I feel like in the last 3 or 4 years, Dominic Calvert-Lewin has only had one very, very good season. I think his other seasons have been plagued by injury and patchy form. You could argue that he doesn't play for a fantastic.
Could that be because of the team that he's playing in?
No, yeah, you're absolutely right. But Everton haven't always been as bad as they were last season. But they were in and around the top 10, and he still didn't really impress me.
Don't forget, Everton started last season really well, the first 5-7 games before it all went to crap for Rafa Benitez. That was when Damari Gray was scoring goals, and they were pushing the top 4 for I think the first 2 months of the season before everything went to crap.
But yeah, let's see what happens on the striker front. Not in my priority though. That's
a good player. I'm not sure what the money would look like to sign him, and I'm not sure about the fitness record.
He's a young English forward, and that's just going to be stupid money. They're going to demand 80 million. I mein, Everton are not a poor club.
Yeah,
we saw earlier they want 60 million for Richarlison, who
60 million euros. It's like 50 million pounds, but yeah.
Okay, that's not too bad considering they bought him for 40 from Watford, wasn't it?
Yeah,
which is not too bad, but we know there's an English premium especially on number 9s.
And since you mentioned him, I was going to actually have you go second, but I'll go second since the name already came up. My answer to the question is Richarlison. 50 million pounds, get the deal done. He has 2 years left to run in his contract. Everton need the money. He's changed agents to try and get a move. He fits that versatile forward bracket perfectly. He can fit in across the front 3. And if you're assuming that your starting options are going to be Sancho on the right, Ronaldo in the middle, Rashford on the left. Having Richarlison on your bench as a player who can sub in for any of those three, I think is a super valuable place for us to be. And he has everything in his locker. He's technically solid. He's got decent pace. He can play on the counter. He can play in small situations. He has the ability. He's good in the air, and he has that workhorse shithousery about him that United have been missing for far too long. People say
On that,
he
on
dives, he
Richarlison.
takes injuries, and so does Bruno Fernandes, and we love him.
I do love his shithousery, especially on Twitter, how he winds up Liverpool fans. On the workhorse part of that, though, I did have a look at his FBref profile, and he's the perfect 9 if you want to play a pressing from the front system.
Exactly.
It's 92nd percentile in pressures per 90, 2021 pressures per 90, 95th percentile for tackles, 93rd for interceptions, 99th for blocks, and 92nd for clearances. He's the perfect forward if you want to play that pressing game, and ironically would have been fantastic under Rangnick.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, and not even under Rangnick. I mean, if you look at Erik ten Hag, historically with Tadic and Aller, he's been playing with a pressing forward as well, so I'm sure he would appreciate it. The biggest thing is he's available. We know we know what he can do in the league. There's no question about can he adapt, and he can play on any of those roles, which I think is very attractive about him. That unlike say if we wanted to look at Gianluca Scamacca, who's another decent young striker who's available right now, Scamacca would have to play where Ronaldo is, and that's it. He can't play any other position. I'm not sure how many minutes we'd be able to fit him in for. Richarlison is great because Rashford's injured, Richarlison can play. Sancho's out of form, Richarlison can play. Ronaldo needs a rest, Richarlison can play. He can even actually technically play the number 10 role, but we have plenty of players for that position.
No, we
wouldn't really need him to, but I mean, in theory, you could. So he's just that flexibility is very valuable, and I think he'd be a great choice. But Dan, what do you think? Who would you be going for?
Do I have to choose someone?
Yes, you do.
Just pick a random name. Anyone.
Emil Heskey.
Okay, someone who's active.
I mean, I don't know. It's very, very hard. My heart's on Nunez, and it's broken forever. I do like Richarlison. I really do. I think he's a very good option for all the reasons that you mentioned, for his pressing game, for his versatility. As far as the number 9, I mean, there's really not many out there. This is a bit of a wild card, and he's not young, but I really like Raul Jimenez. But they would probably want too much money for him, and you're not sure how many minutes he's going to play. Yeah. And if he wants to play second fiddle to Ronaldo, because obviously he's used to starting every week, and he's obviously got his head injuries as well. I do like Anthony, who's a winger as well, but I'm not totally convinced on anybody at the moment, just because this market is so thin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely think the money, we were very smart as a club to say the money is the bulk of the money. The most expensive target, the premier target, is going to be a midfielder. It's an area of desperate need. We all think that the defensive mid is more important, but still one of the biggest areas of need. And then we'll put scraps towards the other positions, which I think the right way.
Frenkie de Jong is sort of like a facilitator for the deals, isn't he? Really, and it would be nice to see United move smart in the market. Find these gems like we did under Sir Alex. Like, obviously, I know that we're signing Frenkie de Jong for a big chunk of money, and he's very, very good player that everyone knows. But if we're finding these players in other positions that will come into a job and they'll play for the badge and they'll play for the team and they'll buy in, I don't mind that. I mean, of course they don't look flashy when they come in, and you get a bit of a reaction online, but if they start playing the way that we want to be playing, you don't mind, especially if they're for a good price as well.
Yeah, I mean, like, Jimenez would be a good option, but like you said, Wolves would demand too much money, and plus, well, we're going to sign Ruben Neves, so I don't think
Neves would be a really poor signing now that we're signing Frenkie de Jong.
Okay, so in my head, we're signing Ruben Neves as a defensive midfielder.
Gotta run the genders.
So let me see if I understand this correctly. Your solution to having one midfielder who sets the pace of the game, but isn't super great at the physical aspect of playing the defensive midfield role, is to sign another player who's good at dictating the pace of the game, but doesn't really have the physicality and
But
movement.
he scores
they can
wicked
want.
goals.
Neves does have some physicality, let me tell you.
The way that I think of it, and maybe this is wrong, you can
I
disagree.
think Neves is more like a Fred, to be honest. He has got a bit of a terrier
Exactly.
about him.
I kind of think of like Neves and Dendoncker as like a cheap version of Jorginho and Conte. And I feel like De Jong kind of fills the same role as Jorginho and Neves. And you're still looking for that Conte or that Dendoncker type character.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah, defensive midfielder aside, in terms of like forwards, yeah, if we do end up getting Richarlison, we'd have to fight Tottenham
We
for
can't
him
put Tottenham
because
for him. He's going to go there.
when,
I
who
just
is he gonna
can't see
play?
anybody picking us over Spurs right now. They've got London, they've got the new stadium, they've got the more proven manager, they've got Champions League football. The only reason to pick United is if you're a childhood United fan, or probably we pay more in wages. That's about it. Otherwise, you'd probably be an idiot to not go to Spurs over United if you're out both.
Yeah, to be fair, they have Champions League and we have Europe.
And they have Antonio Conte, who's more proven than Eric Ten Hag, as promising as Ten Hag is.
True, yeah.
I
But
agree with that.
well, if we do end up getting Richarlison in as like a dream scenario, and if he ends up playing as, like you said, as like a number 10, somewhere in a corner of the stadium, Donny van der Beek is gonna cry to the ends of the earth.
Something like that. But yeah, we were going to talk about defenders today, but the podcast was running a little long. We spent more time on De Jong and the forwards than I think we had planned to initially. We'll talk about defenders next time, and hopefully it'll be paired with talking about exactly how Frenkie de Jong fits into the team, because his signing will have been announced by then. Thanks everybody for listening to the Red Devils Den podcast. Go ahead and give us a follow on Twitter at the Red Devils Den. Go ahead and give myself a follow at United Resurgent, Vin a follow at Vinit05, and at DanWinkle95 for Dan. And with that, thank you very much for listening, and goodbye.